This week on Insight on Ignition GT, we're talking to the CEO of AutoZone, one of the biggest brands in South Africa for parts and accessories and aftermarket. Dion, thanks very much for joining us.
That's a pleasure.
Did I get that right?
You did, spot on.
How long has AutoZone been around? It's quite long established.
Yeah, it's very long established. We can trace it back to 1972, which happens to be the same year I was born. So yeah, 1972. It's had different forms and different guises, but essentially been in existence since then.
Okay, and how many branches do you have around South Africa?
So right now we've got about 243, and we also have about 28 member stores. So.
Gosh, that's a lot. So you are newly installed, just started at the beginning of this year as head of the company. How are you settling in? It's quite a change. You were a twin saver before, forget-me-nots.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's quite a change from an industry culture point of view. But I guess the truth of it is business everywhere. So there's so much that's similar and familiar that it feels like I have never left Twin Saver.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. But then there's so much that's new that it's very exciting. And quite frankly, we've also had the opportunity to bring in a few new executive team members as well. And we're just having a lot of fun at the moment getting to understand the business and the industry.
Are you a passionate petrol head that you came to an automotive company, or?
Yeah, I'd love to say yes emphatically to that, but I think it's somewhere in between.
Yeah.
I've definitely got a little bit of motoring in my blood. My father's always been in the motor industry, so I grew up with it my whole life, but never spent any real time in it until now.
Okay.
And it's really just a little bit of luck that I've landed up in the motor industry. And I say luck because it is a fun industry to be in.
What are you finding fun about it?
So I think it's the challenges. I enjoy places where there's good challenges, and right now we're an industry and a company that has been around for so long and is so established that we've taken a lot of things for granted. And as our economy and the challenges in our country start impacting on the business, we're forced to think quite differently about things at the moment, and trying to get a well-established organization to think differently is quite a challenge, so we're having a lot of fun with that.
I was going to ask you if you found a change in the business since cars have become so much more modern.
I can relay what I've picked up in these last 3 months, and a lot of the guys who have been in the industry for a long time echo this all the time. The number of cars and variants on the roads and the increased technology in the cars is really adding a lot of complexity into our industry.
Yes.
So I think it's one of the biggest challenges we've got. So how do we deal with that complexity? How do we make sure we can still service the industry correctly, but doing it in a way that remains efficient and effective for us?
Do you cater for all different models of vehicles?
Yeah, we try and pride ourselves on catering for most vehicles, popular vehicles. So what we call our target market is vehicles that are between 4 and 12 years old. So we've got a particular focus on them. So, and we definitely try and have all of the main elements of those vehicles.
Okay. What is the most sold thing at AutoZone? Item, the most popular item, because I mean really you do stock it all.
Yeah, I wish I could give you something really sexy and interesting, but it's oil. Oil is the biggest selling item that we have.
Okay, of the sexy and interesting parts. Fluffy steering wheel covers?
No, sadly not. The next would be filters, which I guess go with oil. So first we sell them the oil, then we sell them the filters, so
right.
Everyone can do a good change.
Okay. So parts aside, how much do you actually know about cars? Under the hood.
Yeah, as I said, I was born into it. So my father's a motor mechanic by trade. And as it turned out, he gave me some advice when I went into high school, and his advice was, get a trade so that you can fall back on it. So I ended up going to a technical school and studied motor mechanics for the whole of my high school. So when I joined the industry, being a newbie to the industry, the first question I got was, what's a gudgeon pin? And I was able to answer it, which immediately gave me credibility.
Okay, but this is your first actual job in motor industry?
Correct, yes. Because after school I left the kind of technical fields and went and studied, and this is the first time I've come back to it.
So what was your first car, Dion?
My first car was a very old Golf 1300 LS. And I loved it.
Yeah, Golf's had street cred, hey?
Absolutely.
Still do.
I will embarrassingly admit that I had a subwoofer and some 6x9s.
Well, then you've come to the right place. You landed up in the right place. So what are your future plans for AutoZone? I mean, you're still obviously getting to grips with the business. And as you say, finding it fun. That's obviously always encouraging to hear when a CEO thinks the business is fun. It's a good direction. Where are you hoping to take the company?
So we've actually just finished a big strategic review of the company, and our main focus in the short to medium term is really about focusing on our core business. There's quite a few things that we think we can do a lot better at from an efficiency point of view, but also extending our ranges and capability. And then later on, we certainly hope to be extending ourselves past just being a parts supplier and start getting involved in what we call vehicle care solutions. So we're taking a slightly different view on our customer and starting to define the customer as the vehicle owner and saying, what does a vehicle owner in the aftermarket space need to take care of their vehicle correctly? And in that, starting to assess where our new opportunities will be.
I find it interesting that, I mean, of your 250 something branches, only 28, is it 28 are franchised?
Correct.
Why is that?
So it's always been the AutoZone philosophy to own the stores ourselves, and it's just a model that we find works for us. It allows us to control the customer experience a lot better, make sure that we've got the correct ranges for all of our customers, and it's a model that we've obviously grown and have become pretty good at rolling out a standard model.
And you guys do quite a lot of events and things as well, don't you?
Yes, we
Tell us about some of those.
We thankfully have some very passionate and dedicated petrol heads in our organisation who love going to events. So it's anything from supporting race days to trade days that we have. Any opportunity that we can get our brand out there, we try and participate in.
Dion, in settling into the company, you've obviously been out and about looking at a lot of the different stores and outlets and seeing how the brand is represented, what it does, the products, how things are working, kind of like undercover boss, I suppose. If people don't know you're there. But what really stands out for you in a store as, that makes that store excellent?
Oh, it's such a good question because we've been trying to understand that ourselves as well. And while we didn't do it in the undercover boss, myself and the executive team, we've seen about 1,500 people and have been to all of the major regions in our country, seen as many stores as we can. So I think we've put on something like about 15,000 kilometers visiting all the stores. And what's clear for us, firstly, what makes a good store is when you walk in and you see merchandising correct. So that the accessory or the kind of, let me call it, front of store products that we sell are merchandised well for customers. They can see what we offer, they can buy them, they can interact with them, they can touch and feel a little bit. So we've got a pretty standard look and feel, and as long as people are complying with that look and feel, that's a good store for us. We have, though, through these visits, realized that there's a lot of improvements that need to be made. So we've put together a list, and we will be commissioning some companies to help us with laying out our stores in a different way to give our customers an even better experience. But the real truth of it as well is that at the end of the day, we're automotive experts. And a lot of our action happens behind the counter with the more specialized and technical spares. And what makes a really good store is having the availability of product for our customers that's at the right price. And that trumps everything, even the look and feel in front of the store.
And what now beyond that, that's obviously between your stores, what makes AutoZone better than competing brands out there?
So I think firstly we do have a great range. We've got good availability, as good as anybody else in the marketplace. Our pricing is very good, or at least competitive in the marketplace. And we think we offer our customers world-class service so that they can, if they're working on their car themselves, they can get the right part first time and get their car back on the road. If they're workshops or our professional customers, that they're able to turn those vehicles quickly and make sure their workshops are productive.
What percentage of your customers, if you're aware, are private versus that's their trade?
Yeah, so if we look at it and we call it a professional channel, it would be roughly about 50% of our retail sales go to professional. The other 50% would go to what we call DIY or even do-it-for-me customers.
Yeah.
And that's on our retail footprint, and then obviously our wholesale footprint sell their product into other spare shops and resellers of the product.
It's quite nice. I saw on your website when I was just researching for the interview, there's quite a lot of educational stuff on there as well to cater for customers, you know, DIY tips for, you know, maintaining your car and things like that, which is good. I think it's great, and I suppose that speaks to where you're wanting to take the company.
Absolutely, and we want to do even more of that. We think that there's a lot of room for improvement on what we do, even though we do a lot of good work at the moment. And it's all about creating a central point of vehicle expertise for anybody who wants to understand how to take care of their vehicle.
Dion, we've run out of time, but I want to ask you one thing. If there's one thing that you bring from Twinsaver to AutoZone as a CEO, what is that one lesson, one thing that you bring?
So personally, I think I bring quite a diverse background of experience. As you mentioned, Twinsaver. Before that, I was with Stanley Black & Decker in the tools industry.
Okay.
Before that, I was in telecoms. So I bring a diversity of industries, which I think is going to help us find some new solutions to maybe some old problems in our industry. And I hope that's going to be the big difference.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing what happens with AutoZone in future. Thanks very much for joining us on Insight.
Excellent. Thanks for having me.